Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 6 of On1 Inspiration. My name is Brian Matiash. So I titled this episode Work Smart Not Hard, and it's one of those kind of corporate, cliche phrases that I don't know if you've heard of. I've heard it used all the time. And I usually try to avoid corporate phrases like the plague because they're just so boring. But in this case, for when I was looking for images for this episode, I came across this one of this bus, and I took it in the small kind of like abandoned town of Cisco, which is not far from Arches National Park. And I took it because I was testing a new lens at the time, this new Sony 16 to 35 millimeter lens. And I wanted to test the qualities of the sun flare. So I found this beautiful bus, totally abandoned, and the sun, it was around 2 in the afternoon, so the sun was high in the sky, and I got the shots with the burst. But because I was shooting directly into the sun and the bus was in the foreground, I bracketed because I wanted a tone map. And so when I was looking through my Lightroom library for this issue, or for this episode, I had this idea that, you know what, did I really need to bracket? How many times in the past, because I used to bracket all the time, and how many times did I really need to bracket? Here I am shooting into the sun, so, maybe it's a knee-jerk reaction. I need to bracket, I need to tone map for HDR. And all that does, it wastes time, it wastes hard drive space, it makes it, in a lot of cases, it can bloat the file size. So I wanted to use this episode to just serve as a reminder that you don't always have to, do what you think, like in terms of, oh, I have to shoot HDR for this. Rather, get to know the capabilities of your camera. It turns out that the Sony A7R that I was using actually handles really well in terms of pulling out dynamic range. So I hope that you get something out of this in terms of breaking convention, especially modern convention that, these days a lot of times say, oh, if you're shooting bright light and dark areas, you have to tone map, you have to do HDR. It's becoming less and less the case as we get more and more powerful sensors in our cameras, and it allows for more flexibility. It allows you to speed up your workflow and be more economical with your hard drive space. So let's switch over to the computer here. I'll walk you through, I'm not just saying these things, I'm going to actually show you the difference between a tone map file and working off of the original, and you can judge for yourself. So let's check it out. All right, let's get started on this photo. Now, you can see when we look at the 3 brackets here, clearly this is meant to be a tone map for HDR, and the theme for this episode is work smart, not hard. So the reason why you might think you want to shoot tone map photos is because we're shooting straight into the sun. And even more so, through the abandoned bus here, you can see that there are things in the shadow area. So this is the definition of a scene that has a huge dynamic range. You've got the brightest light source that we know of, plus really dark areas through here. So, and I took this, let's see, October 11th, 2014 at 2:11 p.m., so right in the afternoon sun. And if we just take a quick look at the map, so here's Arches National Park, and Cisco is northeast of that. It's this tiny little abandoned town. Like, there's like nothing there. I mean, there might be people living like over here, but for the most part over here, this is where all those abandoned structures are. And it was just a lot of fun to shoot. So really quickly, you can see here the bracketed photos. You got the midtones, the shadow, or the highlights and the shadows. And in the shadows, you can see how there's all this nice detail. So just to illustrate the differences between working smart and working hard, in my opinion, to work hard, I would select these photos, I'd right-click them, I'd go to Photo Merge and go to HDR just to quickly do a tone map. Now, there's nothing special here. I'm going to go with everything by default, not auto-align, not auto-tone, and no deghosting, so I'm going to click Merge to finish this. All right, so here, watch. Here, I'm going to compare these 2 photos. So this is our midtone, just straight out of camera. And just, since we're talking about cameras, let's look at the info. So this was taken with the Sony A7R, the original, and the Sony FE 16 to 35 millimeter lens. So nothing special here in terms of gear. So this is the original, straight out of camera shot. And then that's the tone mapped. So this is the original tone mapped. Like, hardly, what difference is there? I didn't do anything here. All I did was select these 3 photos. You can see that they're raw files, and created this DNG. So I'm selecting this one and that one. I'll double click and I'll hit C. Here, I'll tab out so we can kind of look at them at the same time. So take a second and tell me if you see any notable differences, because I don't, and maybe I'm going blind or something. But this is all to say that sometimes, even if you think that maybe you do need to tone map, you probably don't. Your camera is actually quite capable of, with especially today's cameras, of capturing a great amount of dynamic range in a single frame. So with that established, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this photo. I'm just going to work off of this one, and I'm going to send it straight to ON1 by going to File, Plug in Extras, and then ON1 Layers. So here I'm presented with an option to whether I want to work on this as a normal photo or a smart photo. I always use smart photos, and the reason for that is because it allows me to come back to ON1 after the fact and re-edit or make changes to any edits that I've made. You'll know it's a smart photo because there's a little gear icon here. And as we start working through this photo, I'll show you how this can be beneficial. So the first thing I'm going to do is just bring this over to Enhance, just to kind of touch things up a bit. And the reason why I want to do that is, for the most part, there's not too much that I want to do, but there are a few things that we can do to set the stage for the effects or stylization component of this edit. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the shadows. Actually, before that, the first thing I'm going to do is bring up my histogram. This is a really important view to have. It shows you the kind of tonal spread of your photo. And so you can see that for the most part, I've got a lot of room to bring my white point out. But first, I'm going to bring my shadows out. Just open those up a bit. And then I'm also going to bring the white point out. So you can see as I bring the white slider over, the histogram's moving to the right a bit. And then I'm also going to decrease the highlights because the sun is getting a bit too blown out for me. So I'm just going to bring that down just a bit. And you can see, let's do a preview, before and after preview. So that's before, that's after. Just kind of opening up the shadows, making everything look nice and even. Let me just bring out the overall exposure a bit. I'm going to bring the white point down and bring the highlights down even more. So this is kind of how I edit. It's very much a fluid process of kind of going back and forth between I'll make some changes, look at the photo, make some other changes. And I think it's really important that once you set a slider, it's not set in stone. You can go back and change something. That's not a problem at all. So with this done, this is all I really wanted to do. And Enhance is really good to set the kind of the baseline or the bedrock for the photo. You just kind of want to tune things up if you're going to stylize. I usually do this before I go to effects. And so now that that's done, I'm going to go over to effects. And the great thing is that in the background, ON1 is taking all the changes I made here and saving it to this kind of smart layer. So I can always go back and edit that. And I'll show you that in a minute. All right, so now here we're in effects. I'm going to hit add filter. And I'm sorry, dynamic contrast, in my opinion, is, I've said this many times before, it could be its own product. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to bring out the small slider a little bit, and I'm going to drop the overall opacity to about maybe 50%. But here's the thing. This dynamic contrast effect is being applied to the sky, and I don't want that. So I'm going to take my quick mask brush, which is the second brush icon down here, and I'm just going to draw up and over through the sky. And what happens is the brush analyzes the stroke that I just made, and it'll make a smart mask based on that. And you can see that effect. Next to the preview button is a mask preview. And so you can see just a beautiful mask. And all it took was one stroke. So I'm going to turn the mask preview off and continue on by adding another filter. So the next thing that I want to do is change the overall kind of color tone of the photo. And the way that I'm going to do that is select the vintage filter. Now, with vintage, I'm going to stick with this blue-yellow, the default preset, but I want to change the style here from cool to teal. So this gives me the base layer, and the other thing I'm going to do is change the blending mode from normal to soft light. All right, so you can see it still retains that kind of teal undertone, but I'm going to bring the opacity down about halfway. And so let's just take a look at what this filter did. It added a nice kind of, like I said, a teal tone to the photo. And select Sunshine as the next preset that we're going to work on. And Sunshine is going to add the overall warmth to the photo, as well as a glow. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So the first thing I'm going to do with Sunshine, I'm going to keep it at 100% for now. I'm going to take the warmth slider and I'm going to bring it up to about 45%. Let's go 50% is fine too. So that's where I want the warmth. I'm also going to bring the saturation up of the overall photo to anywhere from 15 to 20%. A lot of times I'll just click on the slider and I'll see. It doesn't have to be a precise number. And then finally I'm going to increase the glow. And you can see what it's doing here. It's adding a really nice kind of, the bus itself really is glowing. And I like that the warmth is kind of working with that teal tone that we added in the vintage effect right below. All right, so now I'm going to take that quick mask brush. I'm going to increase the brush size, and then I'm going to draw right through the sky again. So just kind of going to go around the top of the bus and get over here. And just like before, we're going to get that same mask. And what I like about this mask is that it creates this nice defined, the glow, the sunshine glow at the very top of the bus. You can kind of see this beautiful, almost like a rim light. And that's because of that mask. So again, I'm going to take the quick brush, decrease the brush size, and then make a small stroke through this window over here. Again, just to maintain consistency in the sky. So with that, we're looking good. I'm going to keep the strength normal with the effect. I'm not going to change the opacity. I'm going to go to Add Filter and add a stock vignette filter. Not going to make any changes to it, just a slight vignette over here. And with that, let's just kind of do a preview. So this is what we started with. Again, no HDR, just the flat image. We went to Enhance, and we made some just minor changes to the base of the image. And then with effects, we were able to get this really nice nice glow. So I'm going to click Apply for a second and return back to ON1 layers to show you a few more things. So in layers, again, here's where I wanted to show you the benefits of a smart photo. So you can see that this is our effect layer and this is our enhance layer. And if I double click on either one of these, I'll jump back into that respective module with all of the changes that I made. And you can kind of, if I turn off the effects layer, ON1 will run through the process of turning that off. So you can see what that entire effect layer did. But even with the enhance and effects changes, I'm still not quite done. There's one more thing I want to do here to really finish the photo. So I'm going to jump back to Lightroom for a second. And I have this texture. And actually, the thing I like about this texture is that it's part of a texture pack that I sell in my store called the Cisco Texture Pack. And these are all textures that were found and taken in this area of Cisco. So I find it to be a nice kind of closing the loop type of thing where I'm using a texture made or found from the same area that the photo was taken in. So I'm going to send this over to ON1 by going to File, Plug in Extras, and then I'm going to select Open as Layers in ON1 Layers 10. And what will happen is this dialog comes up and it says, do you want to create a new document or merge with the current? Well, I definitely want to merge with it, so I'm going to select Merge. And what that's going to do is it's going to take that new file and add it as a layer. Now you can see that the resolution of the texture is not the same as the original photo. And you can tell by the border around it. Fortunately, there's a really easy way to fit this. I'm going to go to the Move tool here, and there's this icon here that essentially looks like 4 arrows spreading out, and it's the Fill Canvas tool. So all I need to do is click that, and instantly the texture is spread across, which is beautiful. Now you'll click Apply. If I didn't, you can either click Apply when you change a tool, or you can click Apply up here. So I'm just going to click Apply to commit that And now I'm going to change the blending mode. You can see right here from normal right down to overlay. And you can, the reason why I'm doing this, two reasons. One, I love that kind of rusty, the patina that's blending through. And two, you get these little rust particles that are coming through in the sky. And I really like that. I'm just going to bring the overall layer opacity down to about 70%. It was a bit too strong for me, but you can see that it adds a nice touch to the photo. And again, I like it even more so because it brings me back to the texture was taken in Cisco, the photo was taken in Cisco, and I just like that kind of thing. So let's click Save to return to Lightroom and compare the final image with the original one. All right, so here we are. I'm gonna select this is the original mid-tone photo. I'm gonna select the tone map photo and then our finalized photo. And let's just go through them. So let's go lights out. And again, this is the original photo, straight out of camera. This is our HDR photo. Absolutely no difference or no real material difference. And then what we were able to do with ON1 Photo 10 using Enhance 10 and Effects 10. So it's just one of those things. The stylization is great, but what's really important and to remind yourself is learn the capabilities of your camera, because the original photo that I took, obviously I bracketed, and the original photo that I edited and shared was tone mapped. I tone mapped it and I stylized it, and look at the difference between the two. There's no difference, and that was just time wasted. That's extra space on your hard drive that's wasted, and it's just unnecessary. So try it out. Really spend time getting to know your camera, and just work smart, not hard. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on our next episode of ON1 Inspiration.